May I ask, what is your name?
My name is Alex Brooklyn.
Alex, with which media are you with?
I produce a local politics podcast called FAQ NYC.
Where do you publish your production?
Online at faq.nyc, and we're also on iTunes.
Why do you do what you do?
Why do I do what I do? Well, because I believe that for a long time, the workings of politics have been obfuscated by making it essentially complicated, and that most people want to be involved and they need an accessible on-ramp to do so. So our host, Harry Siegel, who writes for the Daily News and also the Daily Beast, teams up with Christina Greer, who's a professor, and originally it was started by Ozzy Paper, who now works at the Times. And these people know more about the inner workings of New York City politics, and they're really able to speak to people, not just the inside baseball stuff, but to create a space where anyone can follow along and anyone can start to participate, because it's really important that our politics start being a lot more transparent, and there has to be a little bit less of a learning curve for anyone who wants to get involved in local politics.
Bernie Sanders is from Brooklyn, and he went to Brooklyn College, and we're here at his rally. How do you think the national politics of that magnitude connects to the local politics that we have here in Brooklyn? Is there any correlation between those two?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a huge connection, especially right now after you see a Bernie supporter, Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, beat Joe Crowley, where she, her name was barely known, and she went and knocked on every single door and beat an incumbent that was, an establishment centrist Democrat who did a lot of great things for the city, but also, was living in a space that Democrats have been living in for at least 2 decades, which is an intense stagnancy. And there was no forward motion. So you see her beating him out in one of the Democrat strongholds, which is New York. And no matter our history here of super progressive politics, in general, we have always kind of ridden the line of going with moderate Democrats. And you saw that a lot with the IDC members, and our state Senate just flipped blue. We really are pushing from New York, from Brooklyn, we're pushing the party further left. And you saw that this year with Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, and now you're seeing it with Bernie Sanders kicking off his campaign rally here. And I don't think that was just a random choice or just because he was born here.
As a producer of a political show, do you think there is a future for the shows like yours in the sponsorship arena? How do you find funding for your production? Where do you get your money?
Well, we're funded currently by Civil, which is a blockchain company that tried to kind of redefine the economics of journalism, and they gave a lot of different newsrooms grant and seed money around the same time that people were really starting to worry that local news and local news coverage was in peril. Local news local politics is the first place where people can really get involved. A lot of people are disillusioned with the idea that they could be effective in any way, especially with the barrage of kind of hyperbole and news that come from trying to engage with national politics. But on a local level, people really can engage and they really can make a difference. And I think that's where you saw a lot of people trying to fund local journalism so that you could inspire people to actually get involved and not feel so hopeless.
There are a lot of people, like doctors, lawyers, who made quite a bit of money in their career trying to get in a lot of local politics and make a difference for themselves and for their communities. But there are also a lot of people who don't have funding, who don't have substantial backbone and sponsors, and they want to be involved in politics. What do you think, as the producer, is the way for them to get those sponsors? Like, if they come to a program like yours, can they be heard?
Well, we are not at the point yet where we take phone calls, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of outlets. Brian Lehrer's show. I think there's been such a focus on local candidates, especially in New York, coming in, beating out the IDC, which was a group of Democrats that caucused with Republicans. And I think a lot of people started paying attention this year. And I think a lot of people, you saw people from Manhattan, traditionally people that probably never regularly certainly would go to South Brooklyn, going all the way there and campaigning for Andrew Goodnardes or Max Rose from Staten Island. And you saw this huge push where people are coming from different boroughs to get involved in campaigns. And I think that's where we really saw an upswing in like involvement.
Thank you so much. Can you remind my audience what is your Instagram, what is your social media, how they can find your program?
Well, they can find me at Alex Brooklyn with 2 N's, AlexBrookLynn, and that's my Twitter handle, Instagram, all that. And then the podcast I produce is FAQ NYC. So the website's faq.nyc or at FAQ NYC, and that's Instagram, Twitter, et cetera, et cetera.
Ladies and gentlemen, perhaps that's an interesting podcast. Maybe it's different from what we do at Breakout Media Center or YouTube space in the city, but it also has a space for political program. Check it out. Hopefully you'll find some useful information. Thank you.